talk about putting the P in AI, or why APIs are key to make AI scale. I had a lot of help with that, so I hope you enjoy it. I am actually a product marketer, so I'm your palate cleanser. I'm here to talk to you about business strategy and how Adobe's been thinking about AI and machine learning. We have been doing this for literally decades, right? We've had a research group at Adobe for about 20 years. We were doing machine learning and AI when it was just called research, AI when it was just advanced algorithms, and now we're really thinking about how do we keep being relevant and where do we need to go. So this is a bit about our journey and the things that we've learned. A bit about me, I'm an MBA. I would say that I'm code literate, and I spend a lot of my time thinking about what our customers are trying to do and what we need to do from a business perspective to enable that. And as we keep going, business and technology are really closely entwined. I am also a big sci-fi fan, so we are going to start this presentation like any good sci-fi movie. Stars, right? So there'll be a voiceover. I'll give you some context of where we are, and then we're going to do this action sequence of the not so distant future, and then we'll jump back to the mundane present day and what's going to happen for us to get there. So, things that you all know about. Content and data is exploding, thankfully for us. So is processing power. We have new tools at our disposal, new algorithms, machine learning, deep learning. I'm sure there will be something else soon. We argue whether neural nets is a subset of deep learning. These conversations are happening in the marketing realm, so you can imagine where this is going. And really, it's about customers and brands, right? At Adobe, we have two different customer bases, right? We really think a lot about our creatives, the people using our tools, and the marketers that are also helping deliver that content, right? So we look at it from content and data, and we are very focused on digital experience. So unlike some of the tools that you've seen where they're building a framework, a general purpose, like AWS, like Google with TensorFlow, we really started top down. We started in terms of applications and using machine learning to empower our users to deliver digital experiences. Because just like content and data and technology is changing, so are customers. Their expectations are way out there, right? They want it to be relevant, they want it to be contextualized, they want it to be novel, and it's hard to keep up. So Adobe Sensei. Adobe Sensei is Adobe's AI machine learning platform. We built it for us. Our goal was to make it easier for product teams to use and incorporate machine learning to build new features. So this is where we are today. We have over 50 features in production. We had Adobe Max last year, which is our big creativity conference. We announced 14 more. We have, I think, close to 200 that are in development. So, success, right? We've been successful. Our product teams feel empowered. They are all working simultaneously to bring new things to their customer base, and they're all working simultaneously to bring new things to their customer base. So this means that we really need to think about what is Adobe Sensei, what kinds of things do we want to build, and how we do it. So we went through this process, almost a census, of what technology do we have and how do we make sense of it going forward. So we came up with a criteria set for what makes something Adobe Sensei. It has 3 parts to it. The first part is about the technology it uses. And here's one of my favorite quotes, Arthur C. Clarke, talking about any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And magic, if you follow Adobe branding, which you all should, has been a term that we've used a lot because we really want to delight our customers. We want them to have that, I want that, I want to play with it. Maybe I can be creative too. And it's not just in the creation of it, but in the experience of it. So that selfie, that we're working on in terms of how do we bring selfie photography to the next level and kind of blend that, everyday user with pro photographer experience. That's about the technology of the magic of technology, and we're really looking at AI and machine learning. And then we go through a series of 3. We really want to think about what does this do for our users, and we tried to boil it down to 3 very simple things, like discover what is hidden. And this is, on the other side of the house, on the marketing side, we have features like segment discovery and target, right? You have a sense of who your customers are, but actually when you look at the patterns of how they interact or which products they buy or what kind of things lead to engagement or conversion, you may actually have a segment you haven't identified before. So somebody's needs you need to take into account. Same thing with like anomaly detection and analytics. So all of the things we've been hearing about in the conference, we see those in our products and we help bring those forward. We think about accelerating what's slow. And this is really about things like face-aware Liquify. So if you take a picture and you want to change the expression, to do it well would take hours and a lot of training, because you want to make sure that you don't introduce distortion, that it looks natural. And so if you want to take, your CFO or whatever from, kind of a stern, serious look to a big smile, it would take some doing. Totally worth it, but it's kind of like not having a ski lift. You have to trudge up the mountain carrying all your equipment for, those, 1 to 2 minutes of glory as you go down the hill. So there's lots of features that we have in our portfolio where we think about this in terms of accelerating what's slow. We also think about helping users decide when it matters. And this really falls into two categories. One is when there's just so much data that you couldn't possibly go through it all. Or you could, but it would take many of you and it would be difficult. Things like allocating budget for a marketing campaign or creating a campaign. So auto-allocate in Adobe Target is actually, we talk about it as one-click personalization, because there's literally one button that a marketer clicks and then it looks at users coming to the website, the potential experiences that they could have, and makes it so that they have the best possible experience, right? So it's constantly ongoing. And the last one really talks about our corporate values. And this is serves the creator and respects the consumer. And it was really important to us that this be baked into the definition of what is Adobe Sensei. So we are thinking about things like best practices, not just in things like data governance and security, where we have been doing this for a while, and it's people's full-time job to make sure that we comply and are proactive about it, but things like data ethics. So are we either perpetuating or introducing bias based on our data set? We don't have a firm answer yet, but we know that this is part of what it means to be in the space and where we want to take our company. So Adobe Sensei is delivered in our products, and you get the sense that there's this cloud of features, and you could be using them and not even know. But where do we go from here? And that's really what the talk is about. So all of these features are powered by services. These are internal APIs that we've used. These are the kinds of services that we have. You may have one service, one API that powers the feature in multiple products. So like image tagging. Image tagging is used in Adobe Experience Manager, which is our web content management solution. It's also used in Adobe Stock. There's no reason why it can't be used anywhere else or why it can't be used on its own. And that's really the realization that we're coming to, that we need to do this. We have a framework that we use to train our models, and we're trying to standardize on a subset of tools. We know that we can't have just one, but we also want to speed it up for teams so that it's easier for them to get to their end goal and to really focus on their domain expertise. And all of this is built and tied into content and data. And this is important because when we think about our customers, particularly on the enterprise side or partners where they're building experiences for major brands, a lot of their data already resides with Adobe, whether it's click streams or all of the associated images, for example, for a catalog shoot. So we want to make it easy for them to leverage their own data and to personalize models to their business. So we have a cloud platform, and we're in the process of opening it up. And what opening it up means is enabling people outside of Adobe to use it. We call it Adobe.io. If you go to Adobe.io, you can actually log on. Right now, there are very few APIs that are open to general public, although we did announce one at Max. I'll actually jump forward and jump back. This one's a visual search API for fonts. It's from Typekit, and it's our first Sensei service that is available. We really think that in order for us to stay relevant, in order for us to meet the needs of our customers, we can't do it on our own, right? There are new experiences and new integrations that need to be built, and they're going to be built by an ecosystem. All right, moving back. Stole my own thunder. As we think about Adobe I/O, we really have documentation and making it available externally. So as I sat through this morning and some of the talks about best practices, I mean, we're living that today. When you build an API intended for internal use, and then you're like, okay, we're going to put it externally, and all of a sudden everybody wants to go back and look at it one more time. And so we're working on it. We're also dealing with the fact that we have to think about data governance, right? Turns out if you have one major shoe retailer training their model to recognize their shoes, they don't want to enable that or make that available to anyone else. So there's a lot of work that we're doing, a lot of plumbing. And I don't know if this is a cautionary tale or a success failure, but it certainly falls into that realm of the world has changed. Adobe's been around longer than many software companies, and what we're figuring out is that just like we went from box software to services, boy, are we working hard to go from services to platform. And that really means thinking about who the end consumer is for those APIs starting from the beginning. And there's a lot of refactoring, technical debt. I was one of the people who raised my hand, and I'm in marketing, because we have to make these trade-offs. We have to make these trade-offs between continuing to wow people, and we have this tradition at Max, we call them sneaks, and we serve everyone beer so they're in a good mood, and we show them all this wonderful stuff, some of which will make it into the product. That's what stuff is made of, like marketing dreams, and yet it has to be stable, it has to be extensible, and that's where we're going. On Adobe I/O, we're also starting to think about things like events. We want to make sure that you can create trigger-based workflows and runtime. So we are actually co-developing OpenWhisk with IBM because we believe that serverless is going to be a big thing for our customers and something that we need to enable. So as we think about this gradual opening up, right, we don't want to have this grand reveal a few years from now. We want to learn from our mistakes and also to stay in contact with our customers and what they want, right? I mentioned, for example, the runtime. We have this theory, right, this hypothesis that our customers are going to want to use our APIs as functions. Let's see, right? So we're starting off looking at content intelligence, which is a broad category for some of our image APIs. Things like auto crop, color swatch. We talked about the image tagger before, the face detection that enables some of those, I don't know what to call it, manipulations like the face-aware Liquify, or even just determining, this is a male in this age range. You could custom train it. You could say, no, actually, this is Brad Pitt, right? It really depends on where you're going. Image quality. So we have the subset, less than a dozen that we're going to be putting out to some select customers and partners before we have all the bells and whistles to do general availability, just to see and take ourselves through the paces. Because it really is very different when you invite people to your home and they are using it just like you are. We think that it's worth it. We think that we have to do this because I'm beeping. That's dummy. Okay. I was like, is this like a hook? Okay. Because our customers are going to need these custom workflows and applications, we believe that we're going to need to support them with different services like events and runtime. And that, the value propositions are pretty clear, right? They can, if they better understand what their assets are, right? Even if you think about an agency, they may have stock footage that they take, or images, text that they want to reuse. Well, that means deep understanding of what is in that image. What is the emotion associated with it, depth of field. I don't know, guys, if you've gone and looked at Adobe Stock lately, but they have some really interesting ways to discover content and to be able to go through and accelerate that creative process. It can be just things that hit your bottom line, like automating asset production. A lot of these things are outsourced, and we believe that, in our kind of inventory of capabilities, we have things that would solve a lot of our customers' problems, particularly if we open this up to enable them to do some custom training. And then we get to some of the fun stuff, right, in terms of personalization at scale, right? What if you better understood the content that you had and what made it relevant, as well as where your customer was, right? Back to that world that we live in today. If you understand context, you understand what they're trying to do, and the content that you have, you can personalize it to them. You can even start creating composite content on the fly based on where they are. And it's all about this computing power and the technologies that we have today. For us, we're in this interesting place where we have all of this content, but then we have all of this content, right? And by content, I mean really the capabilities, these APIs, that then we have to make sure that they run well and that they can be generalized for purpose. So we're starting with the mundane and thinking about things like automation, right, of asset production, and just saying, we have retailers who have standardized on Adobe. They're Adobe shops, and they do everything from do all of their photo shoots, use the Creative Cloud to store it, tag it, manipulate it, and then go ahead and push it out to their many channels, right? They run marketing campaigns, they built their portfolios and catalogs, and so we feel that we can help them start to automate some of this, to give them more time to be creative and to do the things that really make a difference for their company.